In the heart of South Africa, behind the gospel music, the miracle crusades, the flashing lights, lies a hidden underworld, a world where men of God become gods of crime, where churches are no longer sanctuaries, but fronts for fraud, sex trafficking, money laundering, and in some cases, even murder. This is the chilling story of South Africa's church mafia. He called himself Major One, a self-proclaimed prophet, a miracle worker, a spiritual billionaire. But Shepherd Bushiri's empire wasn't built on faith. It was built on fraud and broken promises. In 2017, during a service, Bushiri urged followers to invest 100,000 rand in cash, promising 50% returns in just 30 days via companies like Rising Estates and Palambano. People sold houses, took loans, emptied pensions, and over 102 million rand vanished, never to be returned. One distraught congregant, Sylvia Skosana, took out a loan, invested 100,000 rand, and has not received a cent back. She now still repays interest on money she'll never see again. Others reported being told their contributions would fund investments in gold minerals in Zambia, but the gold never materialized, and communication from the church ceased. Meanwhile, Bushiri's own companies were implicated in wide-ranging financial crimes, fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and Ponzi-like schemes, ultimately prompting seizures of properties and bank accounts linked to his investment empire. Extraordinarily, Bushiri later admitted publicly why he came to South Africa. "I came to make money." A confession that stripped away all spiritual veils, exposing his followers as nothing more than ATMs to be drained. The legal fallout is staggering. In 2021, 16 counts of sexual assault against multiple victims, some as young as 15, were added to his charges. In one harrowing case, a victim was allegedly drugged, sexually assaulted for hours, and paid off with hundreds of dollars, then pressured to recant. His head of security was also arrested for paying off one of the victims with 500,000 rand to silence her. A confidential affidavit from a key state witness was leaked, endangering her life and undermining the integrity of the case. Despite these risks, the trial is formally scheduled for August 4th, 2025. The state is seeking to forfeit his assets, including a 58 million rand private jet, to compensate victims. He and his wife Mary remain fugitives. In 2020, while supposedly on bail, they fled to Malawi, citing threats to their lives. Diplomatic relations frayed as South Africa sought their extradition. To this day, they resist extradition. Bushiri remains wanted in South Africa, but continues to preach from afar as victims wait for justice. Next came the so-called resurrection. Pastor Alph Lukau of Alleluia Ministries made headlines worldwide after a video showed him raising a man from the dead on stage as the crowd erupted in praise. But the miracle was a hoax. Funeral parlors stepped forward in fury, claiming their hearses had been tricked into delivering a body to an event that never existed, tarnishing their reputations. Two suspects, Silungisan Grace Sibanda, age 40, and Nkululeko Dlamini, age 35, were arrested and appeared in court, charged with fraud for staging the stunt. However, the case was later provisionally withdrawn pending further investigation. Even more disturbingly, it emerged that the man identified as Elliot, the supposed resurrectee, had died of pneumonia in Zimbabwe days after the event. The identities used by the church sparked confusion, revealing the potential exploitation of a vulnerable immigrant. But that wasn't all. Media investigations uncovered a disturbing side of the spectacle. One woman, Samantha Revasai, claimed she was paid 1,500 rand per month to pretend she was HIV positive and then miraculously healed for the sake of credibility. Others were coached to act disabled, even cancer-stricken, to stage healing events. One recruiter admitted organizing teams of actors to play sick, walking, or crawling to the stage at predetermined moments. Zimbabwean leaders also condemned Lukau's stunt, calling it a despicable exploitation of their citizens, urging fellow nationals to resist being used for staged theatrics in the name of miracles. Fraud charges were laid by religious peers, too. Bishop Eli Mogadiri publicly called it a fraud, an act of organized deceit to grab headlines and cash. He filed legal complaints, urging prosecutors to act.
They wanted me to act as if I was positive, and then pastor prayed for me and I get healed so they can attract other people to come to the church. They promised me money.
How much?
They said they were going to give me 1.5 every month.
As you can see here.
Coming out for the first time.
Yeah. This here, yeah.
This one.
Did you also recruit her?
Yes, this is me.
And this
As
is
you can
The mastermind behind the stunt.
Then came perhaps the darkest case of all. Tim Omotoso, Nigerian-born pastor of Jesus Dominion International, stood accused of 32 crimes: rape, human trafficking, racketeering. Dozens of young women came forward, saying he lured them with prayer, only to imprison them in a nightmare. He was arrested in 2017, held in a South African prison for 7 years, but in 2025, Omotoso was acquitted. He was deported and banned from re-entering the country. Was justice served, or did power protect the predator? These scandals aren't isolated. They're connected by a pattern, a network of rogue churches. Across Johannesburg, Pretoria, Durban, and Cape Town, storefront ministries and tent churches mushroom overnight, led by preachers from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and beyond. They promise healing, but operate as criminal fronts. Some are tied to international syndicates like Black Axe, a feared Nigerian Mafia-style organization involved in multi-million rand internet fraud, money laundering, and human trafficking. Originally part of a university confraternity in Benin City, Nigeria, Black Axe evolved into a global cybercrime empire. They run Yahoo scams, targeting victims worldwide with fake business deals and romance scams, often funneling stolen millions back to West Africa through church donation boxes, miracle, seed offerings, and offshore accounts. In South Africa, police raids have linked certain Johannesburg ministries directly to Black Axe safe houses, where laptops, forged documents, and cash-counting machines sit hidden behind altar rooms. Other churches are embedded in transnational criminal webs, working hand-in-hand with romance scammers, operating fake orphanages to solicit foreign aid, and laundering drug money under the cover of blessings and tithes. One case in Durban exposed a so-called bishop using church funds to ship methamphetamine to Australia, while in Cape Town, investigators uncovered tent churches doubling as recruitment hubs for cash-in-transit heist crews. But nowhere has the crisis been more disturbing than in Rosettenville, Johannesburg, a known hotspot for both church cartels and Black Axe enclaves, where religious facades mask entire neighborhoods run by criminal syndicates. In Rosettenville, locals uncovered a horrifying truth. Some so-called churches in the suburb weren't houses of prayer. They were operating as brothels by night, allegedly used by sex trafficking syndicates, where young women, including minors, were sold in the name of salvation. But this wasn't just prostitution, it was an organized system. Victims, some as young as 13, were trafficked from rural South Africa, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and even as far as Nigeria. They were drugged, locked inside back rooms, and forced to service up to 10 men a night, all under the roof of a ministry. Some survivors later revealed they had been blessed in front of congregations during the day and sold to clients after the evening service. Residents took matters into their own hands. Over a dozen homes, allegedly hijacked and turned into brothels, were torched in protest. Community members told reporters, in one case, a Nigerian national was convicted of trafficking a 15-year-old girl. The church she was kept in was just a front. Investigators have since linked some of these Rosettenville churches to international trafficking routes, with girls moved between Gauteng, Durban, and Cape Town, then smuggled to Mozambique and Zimbabwe before being shipped overseas. Some never return. And the most chilling part? Several of these so-called pastors are still preaching today, protected by fake documentation, bribes, and fear. In these operations, faith became a business model. Tithes turned into rackets. Worship became a paywall. Deliverance came with a receipt. Pastors rode in Bentleys, wore Gucci robes, surrounded by ex-hitmen turned bodyguards. And their followers, the sick, the poor, the desperate, they were fleeced emotionally, spiritually, financially. The CRL Rights Commission tried to intervene. They proposed mandatory church registration, financial disclosure, oversight. But powerful pastors called it persecution. They shouted, "Touch not the anointed." And while the state blinked, the church, Mafia, grew bolder. In Rosettenville, residents begged for police help, but many claimed the authorities were either outnumbered or paid off. The real cost isn't counted in rands. It's measured in ruined lives. A woman gave 250,000 rand to Bushiri. She now lives in a shack. Another followed Omotoso across provinces, only to be sexually exploited behind church doors. And in Rosettenville, 15-year-old girl was sold for sex inside a church building. This isn't just crime, it's spiritual abuse. They came in the name of God, but they were wolves in robes. The church mafia is real, it's growing, and until we expose them, faith will remain for sale. Miracles will be monetized, and criminals will continue to preach. This isn't an attack on religion. It's a call to protect it, because the greatest trick the devil ever played was pretending to be a prophet.